Good morning. We were looking yesterday at the 5th chapter of Genesis and looking at the names of the different patriarchs and seeing that by their names, God was sending a message down through the generations. Let's look at them just again for a moment. Man, Seth, was appointed to be mortal and miserable and in sorrow. Mahalalel, the blessed God, shall come down with Enoch, teaching Methuselah that his death shall bring Lamech, the despairing, hope. The death of God would bring hope to the world. Written there into the scriptures right at the very beginning. And I can imagine that Moses going before God and saying, we've got all these accounts of the creation. And there were many accounts of the creation. The Egyptians had accounts, or lots of the tribes had accounts of creation. He says, which one shall I use? Shall I use this? Shall I use that? And the one he chose, of course, is the one we've given to us in Genesis. And the one he brought before God, and God approved, was the one given to us in Genesis. But now, as he goes through the generations and accounts the names of these patriarchs, I wonder if he actually realized that what he was doing was prophesying that man who was mortal and despairing, the good God would come down and bring the despairing hope. That is the names of these patriarchs as they're given to us here in the Old Testament. One of the other things, and this is a bit of an aside because people may not recognize this, Adam lived according to the scriptures a great number of years. The first patriarch to be born after Adam's death was Noah. Probably that is why he was given the name Noah. People recognize, you see, that it was Adam's sin which had caused all the disasters in the world and of death to come into the world. They recognized this is what had happened. They still probably had Eden there in front of them. They could see the place being guarded by the cherubim. So they were well aware of the fact that it was Adam's sin that had put him outside of Eden. And when he finally dies, the next patriarch to be born, Noah, the family must have thought, well, Adam has now died. Perhaps now we can come through to a place of hope. Of course, the hope would come, but not for many generations until the birth of Jesus. And we sometimes forget as we look at these numbers, in fact, how long these patriarchs lived. For instance, not many people will realize this because they haven't actually looked at the numbers or taken them seriously. That Noah was still alive when Abram was born. You may not realize that. And as for his son Shem, from whom all the Semites had come, his son Shem was still alive when Isaac was born. You know, we are looking at people here where the families would be communicating across the ages and proclaiming truths which have been held in a common memory. Because of the vast age of these patriarchs, they were carrying the information with them. Methuselah, for instance, who lived this long age, would have been able to declare to his son and to his grandson Noah, because they would have been alive at the same time, the truths which had come in the past. He would have been able to show them how Enoch had been in fact raptured and taken to be with God without physical death. He would have been able to look right the way back, and because Adam was still alive at that time, when in his lifetime, would have been able to track the ancestry of the family right the way down in this way. So we are dealing here with people with a racial memory who can go back over the ages and declare it to us in a very simple way. Now, when Noah was born, we are told that Noah was a righteous man. But before we get to Noah, I just want to look at something else which has happened at the same time, something we may not realize. We are told that at this particular time, there was a strange infection brought into the human race. Now, the memory must have been there for a long time amongst these people. They talk about them as extraterrestrial people. They call them the sons of God, who came into this world and interbred with the human race. They, in fact, created a genetic problem in the race. The gene pool was contaminated by them. You may sound a strange story. You know, at the present time, there's often been many stories of UFOs and strange stories about them wanting to interbreed with human beings. I believe this is Satan's trick again. He is trying to contaminate the gene pool of the human race. And he was going to try and do it here as well, by allowing some of his angelic beings who are supporting him to enter into our own experience, to interbreed with the human race. And if you want to read it, you'll read a story of it here in Genesis and create these strange hybrid creatures who are known as the Nephilim. We come back to this again.